Hello everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Painting with a Furry. Today we're going to learn how to draw a nice little happy dragon. So grab your pens, your papers, or your spray paint, and join me on this wonderful journey together. Come on, let's get started. I have some basic supplies today. I'm in the Just Graffiti world of VRChat if you'd like to follow along here. I have the black, the white, and the gray for the outline and some shading later. And I also have the blue and the orange that I'm going to use as the main color of the dragon. If you would like to use some different colors, that's perfectly okay. You make the dragon you want it to be. Let's get started. We're going to go ahead and take the black. And we're going to go ahead and start with the muzzle of the dragon. So, what I like to do, just draw a nice little line like this, a curve at the end for the brow. I'm going to come down here and give the nose a little bit of shape. And then we're going to curve back here for the top jaw. Once we do that, I'm going to go ahead and finish it off with the bottom jaw and round it off at the end there, like so. I'm going to give it a little hoop here at the end to kind of accent the wrinkles that are going to be on the cheek later. And up here, we're going to go ahead and draw the eye, like so. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can always fix it later. Then let's go ahead and give him a little snout as well. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a little accent line right here to kind of mark where I want the ridge of the nose to be. And this is just personal preference, but I like to actually thicken this line right here on the ridge because I believe it kind of creates a nice depth we can use later. And then let's shorten his brow just a little bit, like so. It's okay to make mistakes. That's perfectly fine and part of the learning process. I'm just going to go ahead and take my gray and we're going to clean this up a little. There we go. No harm done. Bring you guys in a little bit closer and we'll do some more work. Okay. So from here, I am going to bring this up just a little bit. You may have to play around with it to get the brow to look just how you want it to be. And since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and give my dragon a nice big horn on the front of his snout there. If you don't want a horn, that's perfectly fine too. Now let's move down here and draw the wrinkle that's going to be on the back of the cheek there. Now once we've gotten this far, we can add a little line right here, accent the crease of the eyes a little bit. And while we're at the eyes, why don't we just go ahead and draw a little bit of detail in there. A nice slit for the eye. Okay, we've gotten this far. Now we need to add the iconic horns of the dragon. I prefer to draw my dragon with 4 horns, 2 per side, 1 up high and 1 slightly below at a different angle. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. What I traditionally like to do is kind of go off a little bit here, and then I kind of like to do almost like a little mountain scene right there. And that's where the skin and the horn intersect and meet. And then right below it, at a slightly off angle, I like to do another one, just like that. And we're going to go ahead and give this guy some nice big horns. Now, try not to make the horns too straight or too perfect, because Mother Nature typically doesn't work that way. There we go. A little bumps along the way. And on the bottom one, we're just going to go ahead and make it a little bit shorter. There we go. That looks nice. Okay. We've come this far. What we're going to do now is actually work on the neck and the main body of the dragon. So, I'm going to bring you guys down just a little bit so we can see. There we go. And let's go ahead and just move these spray cans out of the way. Perfect. Okay. Now, this is just my personal preference, but I like starting with the underside. What we're going to do is about halfway down the bottom here, we're going to just come down here slowly and curve back and around like so. And then once we do that, we're going to try to match this S shape going all the way back. So here we go. If we follow this line right here, we'd start here, and we're just going to go all the way back like so. Now, this is also personal preference, but I like to give my dragons a belly that's different from all their scales. So if you would prefer to do that like I would, you're going to go ahead and start right about here, halfway on his jawline, and you're going to come down and actually follow the first line almost parallel. And there we go. He's going to have a nice soft belly. And we're going to go ahead and just roll in a couple ridges here. That's going to be to represent the wrinkles where the skin and the scales meet up and push against each other. We're also going to kind of have that up here as well, the mark where his spine sits. There we go. We're not looking too bad, everyone. So, now we get to make a decision. What would we like to have on the top of our dragon? We can give him a nice floofy hairdo. We can do some fins. It's all up to you guys. I personally like to give mine some nice looking hair, because who doesn't like to have a little bit of hair they can play with? So here's what we're going to do, chat. We're going to move up here just a little bit, like so. And I'm going to start right about here. And we're just going to kind of give him nice spiky hair too. There we go. Doesn't have to be too perfect. We're going to come back and fix it with some color and some shading later. Oh boy, doesn't he just look beautiful, everyone? Just like you. Everyone here is beautiful. Okay. Now, that's the basics for the outline. Now we're going to start adding some color and really make everything pop. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to start with my blue. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just start coloring in a little bit. I'm going to do my best to stay within the lines, but you know, if you accidentally go over the lines or make a mistake, that's perfectly fine. Everyone has these happy little accidents every now and then. And there's no accident too big that we just can't fix a little bit later. There we go. Yeah, see there? I made a little bit of accident on his nose. But that's fine. We'll fix that. Let's come down here. And now this is going to be up to you, chat. I personally like to start my two-tone right about here, like so. We're going to make this bottom portion of his jaw a different color. Let me back up just a smidge so you guys can see what I mean. So, we're going to do that. Then we're going to take the orange. We're going to start it right about here. Do it just like this. Yeah. Follow that line nice and carefully, all the way up and all the way back. Perfect. There we go. And it may take you some time to get this down just right, but that's perfectly okay. Everyone works at their own pace. It's not a race. As long as we all make it to the finish line, we're all winners. Okay. Let's go ahead and finish with our blue. Now, this does take a little bit of time, but that's okay. We got plenty of time here today. Just me and you and our nice little dragon friend here. I'm sure he really appreciates all the hard work and effort you're putting into him right now. Here we go. We're almost done with the horns. Looky there. These are going to be some wonderful dragon horns later. And now we can pull back on the spray can just a little bit, and it actually draws in a bigger circle. You can use that to fill a lot of the space very quickly. And if you want to do the exact opposite, you can get real close and it just fills a really, really tiny spot. Just perfect for getting in between these nice to hard to reach areas. There we go. Almost got it. Come down here. Make sure we get this back piece a little bit. And like I said before, if you accidentally paint over your lines, that's not a big deal. You can always go back and fix it later. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and fill in the orange a little bit. Bring you down just a little bit. That way you guys can see. Move that pesky paint can out of the way for you. Okay. Here we go. Like I said earlier, you can get in nice and close with the spray can to make it a more precise line. And then as you pull back, you actually get a much bigger spray, which is perfect for filling in these big old areas on the belly here. Oh, isn't that just perfect? There we go. Wonderful. And while we're down here, chat, like I mentioned earlier, we all make mistakes. I'm going to go ahead and take this black and clean up a couple of these lines I went over. We got a nice little spot right here we're going to clean up. There we go. We'll just cover up these happy little accidents. Not a big deal. There we go. Nobody will even notice. We'll go ahead and clean those lines up a little bit too. Wonderful. There we go. He's all ready now. So, go ahead and move back up here. We're going to do his horns now. Now, I traditionally like my horns to be black, but if you have another color you'd like to use for his horns, that's perfectly okay too. So I'm going to start by go ahead and just painting in the complete horn black, like so. There we go. And we're going to move up to the top one now. Make sure to fill it in completely. That way he doesn't have any dents in his horns. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make his hairdo orange to match his belly. Like I've been saying the whole time, this is all up to you what color we use. I've seen all sorts of colorful dragons, so nothing you choose will ever be wrong. Okay, we're going up here, making sure we're following these lines to the best of our abilities, but it's okay if we make a mistake. Sometimes mistakes just add a little bit of character to your creation, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's what makes it your creation after all the little imperfections. None of us are perfect, and that's perfectly okay. We just need to get this little part here, and we'll be done with the basic colors. We're going to come down here like so, and then up and around, and back down again. Wonderful. There we go. There's all the basic colors. Oh, my chat, look. I forgot to color in his horn. We wouldn't want to do that. He may be upset with us. So, I'm going to go ahead and color it in blue here. And we'll make his little horn here on the front match his big horns in the back. Wonderful. There we go. So, now what we can do is we're going to add a little bit of highlights and a little bit of shading to really make him pop a little bit. And I'll try to explain my process along the way. So, what we're going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and grab my white. And we're going to use this to do highlights on the dragon. So we need to kind of pretend that there's a sun somewhere. And actually, since I have orange, we're just going to draw a little dot up here to represent the sun. You guys see that up there? Bam, right there. And what we're going to do is if we follow the light down from the sun, we kind of need to see where it hits on the dragon. So if you can see, if I follow it down right here, it's going to hit on the top of his muzzle here. So I'm going to draw just a little line there to represent that being just a smidgen brighter. And we're going to do it right about here too, in there. And we're going to add one just around the nose a little bit to make it pop out. Now, if you remember earlier, we had some wrinkles around here. So we're going to go ahead and add those back in. Just like this. One down here as well. Perfect. Once we have those back on there, I'm going to go ahead, just put a little bit of highlighting. Just a little bit. And then we'll follow it back down again. Looks like it's going to hit his brow as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just like that. It's really coming together, isn't it? Now, I'm going to add a little bit kind of right here on each of these ridges. Just to give it some oomph and to make it pop out a little bit. There we go. Maybe a smidgen more up there. You're going to have to play around with it a little bit to get it just how you like it, and that's perfectly fine. Now I'm going to give him like a nice big one right here on the top of his cheek. And why don't we go ahead and put some in his hair as well? Just gonna kind of start here, and we're just gonna throw some on there. It doesn't need to be perfect. There we go. Just a couple. Maybe just a couple splattered around there. A nice big one right there. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll go ahead and just finish it kind of back here. Ah, we're really getting together. Now let's go ahead and put a highlight kind of right there as well. And right there. Then maybe a big highlight right down the center. There we go. Now, the last bit we have to do is the horns and the eye. So what I like to do with the horns is I'm actually going to take this gray and we're going to attempt to shade just a little bit. So I'm going to look where it should be lighter, following the sun down. It should be lighter on the top side of the horn. I'm going to go ahead and use this gray to make it just a little bit lighter on top there. Right there. And right there. And once I've done that, I'm going to come back with the white and do the same thing again. Kind of add a little bit of white on top. And it almost looks like a step. You have the black, the gray, and the white. I go ahead and do it on the second one right here. There we go. Oh, it's looking real pretty, isn't it? And while I'm looking at it, I think I'm just going to give him just kind of a shiny belly right there. There we go. Now the last portion is the eye. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you guys in nice and close. We can work on this together. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take the white. I'm going to really just make sure I get that nice and filled in. We're going to go ahead and draw over our previous lines. That's perfectly okay. Sometimes it takes a couple attempts to get it just right. So, we're going to draw a line right here to represent the back of the eye. One right there. And then the pupil, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and give him an orange eye. So we're going to let in just a little bit. And you may have to go back with your black a couple times to really clean up the lines. That's okay. There we go. And now the most important part to make the eye pop is the highlights. So I like to put a little white dot right about there. And then maybe just a couple small ones right behind it. And there we go. Our dragon's looking really nice. I'm going to go ahead and just clean up his nose 1 second here. There we go. Maybe a little bit too much on that line. I'm going to go back and shrink it just a little bit. And like I said, you may have to just clean it up a little bit. That looks okay. And the last step here is just to thicken or darken up some lines that we think should be a little darker. This is mostly for aesthetics and isn't really necessary, but I think it adds a nice touch. So, any line that is on the opposite end of the sun, I think we should make a little bit thicker. So, for instance, if you follow the sun down here, this line right here, the sun really wouldn't hit underneath there. So we're just gonna thicken it up just a little bit, kind of like a shadow. And we're gonna do the same thing down here on this one. Doesn't have to be a lot thicker, just a little bit. And we're gonna do that in just a couple places. Now we may thicken up that one there, that one there. You know, it's completely up to you how you want to do this. And we're going to move down just a little bit. I'm going to move my spray cans out of the way so everyone can see. And I'm going to go ahead and thicken up this bottom line right here, just a smidgen. Here we go. And make this a little bit thicker down here, because that's where a shadow would normally sit, right there underneath your neck. And we'll just do just about like that. Wonderful. Maybe right there on his cheek too. But I think that does it. Let's step back and look how we did, everyone. Oh, isn't he beautiful? Oh, that's a wonderful dragon anyone would be happy to have. Well, I hope everyone here had fun today. You were just a nice, happy little dragon, and I hope you all had a nice, happy, wonderful time. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful day. Hopefully, I get to see you all again soon. You take care. Bye bye.